Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We sort through the complex sources you send our way, pull out what matters, and give you the big picture.
And today we are deep diving into Italy.
Right, a country that's simultaneously hitting these massive financial milestones while also wrestling with some really deep structural problems that have been there for decades.
It's a real contradiction.
It is. I mean, we've got a stack of sources here that paint a really complex picture. You have this surprising economic boom in the South.
Right next to this frustratingly slow return on investment for university graduates.
Exactly. We're going to cover everything from, landmark legal rulings on civil rights to brand new policies on schools and housing.
And our mission here is to really distill all of these shifts, the legal, the economic, the social, so you can understand where Italy is actually heading.
I think the scope of the sources is what's so interesting here.
It is. This isn't just a high-level budget review. We have granular data, household savings, export numbers, new social laws.
And when you put them all side by side,
You see this push for modernization, but it's uneven. The challenge we're seeing across all these topics is how to tackle those regional disparities that still really define the Italian experience.
okay, let's jump straight into the economic good news, because there is some.
There is.
And it's an engine of growth that I think often gets overlooked. The blue economy.
When you think of the Italian economy, you probably think Milan, high fashion, industrial design.
Right. Not the sea.
But the sea has become a silent powerhouse. The blue economy is basically everything connected to the marine environment.
So that's shipbuilding, fishing.
Shipbuilding, fishing, aquaculture, port logistics, coastal tourism, marine research. It's a huge sector.
How huge are we talking?
Over 60 billion euros a year, and it employs more than 1 million people.
And the growth figures, they really show a fundamental shift is happening.
They do. Between 2019 and 2023, the number of companies in this sector grew by 4.3%.
And that's while the rest of the Italian business base was actually shrinking.
It shrank by over 2%.
Right.
So this isn't some niche success story. This is, where a lot of the next generation of wealth is coming from.
What's really surprising, though, is where this is happening.
The regional leadership, yeah. Traditionally, the North drives industrial growth.
But not here.
Not here. The south of Italy is the undeniable leader. They're contributing nearly 21 billion euros. That's almost a third of the whole blue product.
And what about jobs?
Over 37% of the sector's jobs are in the south. It just completely flips that old narrative of northern economic dominance.
And how does this stack up in Europe? Are they competitive?
Highly competitive. Italy is fourth in Europe for marine biological resources and third for non-biological ones, especially in things like shipbuilding and repair, which need a lot of tech investment.
So if the South is leading, what's the secret? What's driving this?
Well, that leads us right to this core concept we found in the sources.
Which is?
Cohesion is competitiveness.
Okay, explain that.
There is a clear link. Cohesive businesses, the ones that are deeply connected to their local areas, to their communities, their stakeholders, they are just outperforming everyone else.
How significant is this cohesion premium, as you call it?
It's massive. These businesses now make up 44% of the entire manufacturing sector.
And that's up from what?
Just 32% 6 years ago.
Wow.
And in these cohesive regions, the per capita added value is way higher. We're talking 38,000 euros versus 28,000 in less connected areas. And they have lower poverty rates.
And it's not just about output, right? It's about their mindset.
Exactly. 7 out of 10 of these companies are investing in environmental sustainability. 8 out of 10 are jumping on digital tech. That connection to the local community, it's fueling innovation, it's future-proofing them.
That focus on cohesion, it really seems to be propping up Italy's financial health overall.
It does.
If you look at the national finances, Italian household wealth just passed 6 trillion euros in 2024.
A historic milestone.
And it grew 4.3% from the year before. That is a massive amount of capital just sitting in the system.
And it's not just sitting. That wealth is moving into investments.
Right. We saw huge growth in mutual funds.
Up 17.6%. And government bonds, the BTPs and treasury bills, they jumped up 14.3%.
So that shows strong retail demand. People are trusting Italian debt again.
Especially with interest rates rising. It makes those bonds much more attractive to the average saver.
Okay, so we have this 6 trillion euro national wealth figure, over 2 trillion in savings. But if you peel that back, the wealth is heavily concentrated.
And there's that structural challenge again, the persistent regional divide.
Give us the numbers.
Well, Milan leads the country in per capita savings. They're averaging over 71,600 euros per person.
71,000. And you contrast that with,
Croton, at the bottom of the list, they're averaging
yeah,
less than 13,000.
wow, the gap is almost 6 to 1.
It is. The North is still the financial powerhouse when it comes to deposits.
But the sources did hint at a kind of counter trend in the South. Not in how much they save, but in how they're investing it.
Exactly. While deposits are low, some southern provinces, like Teramo and Potenza, they've shown really strong growth in invested resources.
So securities funds, that kind of thing.
Right. It suggests that when new money is generated there, it's not just being left in a bank account, it's being put to work.
And the state is trying to help unlock more of that value.
Yes, with this new digital platform called Create Value, Invest with Us.
It sounds ambitious. Is this just listing prime real estate in Milan, or is it a real tool for national redevelopment?
The goal is explicitly national redevelopment. It's an online platform with about 400 state-owned properties.
What kind of properties?
Everything. Cultural sites, land for new social or senior housing. The idea is to digitize these assets, stop them from being abandoned, and attract that private capital to spur urban renewal across the entire country.
So we've established where the wealth is. Now, let's look at how that money is being used for human capital. Italy invests a lot in its universities, but the return on that degree, it seems to be a frustratingly slow game.
It is a long wait. The sources show it takes over 12 years for a university degree to pay for itself.
To break even on the investment.
Just to break even on tuition and costs. And if you studied away from home, that payback time is over 14 years.
That's a huge pressure on young people, on families.
It is.
If you finish your degree at 24, 25, you're well into your late 30s before that investment finally pays off.
And while graduates clearly earn more, around $43,000 a year versus $30,000 for non-graduates, the return is still 18 points below the EU average.
So it's a real income boost. It doesn't come for a long time.
It comes very, very late in the career. The wage gap peaks at 76%, but only by age 55 and up. It's a long, slow climb.
So which degrees offer the fastest path to a good salary?
Engineering is still king if you're chasing salary. Chemical, nuclear, mechanical engineering, they all pay about 7 to 8% above the graduate average.
And at the other end?
Predictably, humanities and languages pay less, around 8% below that average.
And the fastest return on investment?
That's found at private universities in the North. They have the corporate connections. Bocconi in Milan, for example, offers the fastest payback at 12.2 years for local students.
So if the return on education is so slow, what about the environment where this workforce operates?
Yeah.
We have some fascinating data on the best workplaces for women for 2025. This really shows what's possible.
It's a great model. At these top certified companies, women report incredibly high trust levels, 85%.
Which is how much higher than other companies?
34% higher than non-certified companies. And that trust creates loyalty. 87% plan to stay long-term.
And if trust is that critical, what does it say about the other, 83% of Italian workplaces that haven't reached that standard?
It raises a big question about the broader labor environment. But look at the results these top companies get.
In terms of leadership?
Yes. 48% of management positions, including C-level roles, are held by women at these top 20 companies.
That's almost parity.
Almost parity at the top. And that's compared to just 17% at other organizations. Gender parity in leadership, it just translates directly to a healthier, more cohesive, and more competitive workplace.
Okay, moving on to government action. Let's look at two big policy shifts that were just approved for schools.
Right.
Let's start with the protection of teachers.
This is a direct response to a really worrying trend. The sources confirm that after healthcare workers, school staff are the most affected by violence in the public sector.
And there's been a rise in assaults, often from parents.
A significant rise.
Yeah.
So the government has taken a very firm stance here.
What have they done?
They've amended the criminal code. There is now a mandatory arrest in flagrante delicto.
Meaning caught in the act.
Caught in the act for any adult who injures a teacher or a principal. And they've also increased the minimum penalty for minor injuries from 6 months up to a 2-year minimum.
So this is clearly meant as a strong deterrent.
A very strong deterrent. It's about restoring respect for the role of teaching.
Okay, and the second policy shift deals with sexual education.
Yes. The new measure requires explicit written consent from parents for any sexual education activity.
And they're citing the constitutional right of parents to raise their children.
Correct. And, crucially, the rule prohibits expanding the topic into preschools and elementary schools.
And it's important for listeners to know, the sources point out that these programs are currently, quote, practically absent from the school system anyway.
Right, which takes us neatly into infrastructure goals, where policy is trying to speed up the country's EV transition.
This is critical for meeting climate targets.
Huh.
How's the rollout of charging infrastructure going?
It's accelerating. It grew by 27% in 2024, so now over 64,000 charging points. And the fast DC chargers grew even quicker at 47%.
And the market is responding.
It is. EV registrations surged by over 75% in the first quarter of 2025.
But once again, the regional disparity problem crops up.
It always does. The North has 57% of all the chargers. The South and the islands only have 23%.
And that's a huge problem for long-distance travel, for tourism.
A critical problem, especially for the South. But on a European scale, Italy's actually doing okay. They're 6th for total charging points. And relative to their small EV stock, they rank 2nd, just behind Spain, for fast chargers per vehicle.
So the real challenge is just getting more people to buy EVs in the first place.
Exactly. The market share is still low, around 5%.
Okay, our final segment. This brings us to some highly impactful legal and social developments.
2 recent decisions from the Constitutional Court and some new support for homeownership.
Let's start with that landmark ruling on family rights.
So the Constitutional Court, which is the body that rules on whether laws are constitutional, they legalized the recognition at birth of children born to lesbian couples.
And this is specifically for couples who used heterologous fertilization, so IVF, with a donor, legally done abroad.
Correct. And this is a monumental shift.
So what does this actually mean in practical human terms? Before this, only the biological mother was recognized.
Right. Often, yes. This ruling ensures the child has a stable legal status from birth. Before this, the non-biological mother had to go through a long, expensive process like stepchild adoption just to get basic parental rights.
Like picking the child up from school.
Picking the child up from school, signing consent forms, traveling. This ruling just eliminates that barrier. It recognizes the parental relationship from day one.
Now, the second ruling dealt with a related issue, access to IVF for single women.
Right. And here, the court took a very different view.
They upheld the ban.
They did. Their rationale was that the legislature has the right to not endorse a parenting model that deliberately excludes a father figure from the start.
So a very different outcome.
A very different outcome. But the court was also very clear that the Constitution doesn't block lawmakers from changing that law in the future if they choose to.
Okay, finally, let's talk about a safety net for young people trying to buy a home.
The biggest hurdle is always the down payment. Banks usually only finance 80%.
So the government is trying to solve that with the first home mortgage guarantee fund.
Exactly. It's open until the end of 2027.
And what are the key benefits if you're a young person looking to buy?
The fund gives you access to 100% financing. So no down payment needed. It also means lower interest rates, and you don't need additional guarantees like a cosigner.
So it's a very targeted policy.
Highly targeted. It's reserved for specific groups: people under 36, single-parent families, young couples, and large families that meet certain income limits. It's a direct intervention to make homeownership possible for the next generation.
So after this incredibly dense dive, what's the unifying tension we're left with?
I think it's that Italy is proving it can develop these highly competitive, innovative economic sectors like the blue economy.
And it can make these landmark social strides like the court's ruling on parental rights.
But, and it's a big but, these achievements aren't getting rid of the deep structural challenges fast enough.
We still see the regional savings gap defining opportunity. We still see a labor market that takes a decade plus to reward a good education.
And those infrastructure gaps, especially in the EV transition between North and South, the country is definitely moving, but it's moving at vastly different speeds.
And it seems like a lot of the targeted success comes from one of two places.
Either direct government support, like the First Home Fund, or the EV incentives.
Or, maybe more powerfully, from that private sector cohesion and investment. That €6 trillion household wealth figure. It points to so much untapped potential.
My final thought for you to consider really builds on that theme of cohesion.
Okay.
Given the clear data that strong civic and entrepreneurial cohesion drives innovation, it drives wealth, it drives successful workplaces, just how much more competitive could Italy unlock if the rest of the country could achieve that same level of community strength?
So it suggests a path forward based not just on capital,
but on unifying the entire social and entrepreneurial fabric of the country.
An excellent way to frame the future. That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Thank you for joining us.